Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am really pleased to have you back here. If you're new to this channel, I would like to introduce myself. Hello, my name is Fika. Good morning. I am really pleased to have you, all of you guys that are new here. I am actually an MBA student from IPMI International Business School. I am really happy to be a part of this school, a part of this university. You gotta check their website link. I'm gonna just put on the description box. Yeah, as I am pleased to have you back here, whether you're new or you're already in here in my first video, I would just like again welcome you with the warmest hug and warmest welcome for me. And I am actually hoping that you're gonna stay with me here and have a pleasant journey learning with me. So, on today's video, we're going to learn and cover about global economy and international business. This subject was actually led by two of my awesome professor. There are Professor Roy Sembel and also Bu Yulita. They're really awesome. They're really inspirational. I just want to give a shout out to them. Thank you so much for your insightful lecture for these past 3 months. I am really grateful to know you guys. And yeah, I hope you got something from this learning session and journey with me. And I hope it's what I get for you guys, what I tell you guys could be really useful to your working area. Yeah, I'm talking too much, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, as you can see from this mind mapping that I already specially made for you guys, we're going to cover a lot about global economy and international business. But before we did dive into it, I'm just gonna start pretty basic. We're gonna learn about the basic theory of what is global economy. So it was actually interesting because I really like to learn about global economy. It covers so many stuff, it covers so many perspective. So in theory, global economy was actually provides linkage between the regions and nation of the world in a system of economic relationships. These relationships involve the exchange of goods and services, financial flows, across the borders, exchanging of different nations' currencies, and movement of people in search of better standard of living. So basically, global economy is very wide, if I may say. And the exchange of buying and selling in this global economy era wasn't just about goods or product like physically product, but also about services. So if some nations exchange services, some nation exchange their people of power, that also could be called global economy. So without I mean, before I'm gonna say without further ado, but I was actually gonna say without we did that before. I mean before. Sorry. Before we did dive into it, I'm gonna tell you guys about long history of global economy so you have a better understanding of it. So actually, long time ago, the center of gravity of international global economy was in the East. Almost 80% of the share in global economy coming from the East. As you can see from the table here, you can see lots of colors here, but East country mostly in the up level here. Yeah, most of it actually came from China and India. At this time was called the rise of the East. However, in the Industrial Revolution start from 1950, the rapid technology growth caused the GDP of the Western country increase significantly. So at that time, the Eastern was actually taking control of the world's economy. Like I already said to you, 80% of the share was actually belong to the East. But because they think and they feel like they're already satisfied with what they have, and they feel like they're already in a really, really comfortable situation or a comfortable equilibrium, they don't feel like they have to improve anything, and that's when they're actually wrong. After World War One, the Industrial Revolution came up, and this actually the time where Western country or Western regions shine. So in the maybe all along 50s, the Western recent all along through that period continued to the 60s, and then continued to the 70s, and then yada yada yada. It was actually quite a lot of Western influence. So in this Industrial Revolution 1 and 2, like you can see from here, so 1 and 2 was really the Western time, you know, because at that time that was more related to the physical technology, and that was when Western tried to improve. But again, every time most people, this is actually one of the example, they feel like they're already in a really safe place in the economic global scale, and they feel like they already improved much. And this is where they're wrong, actually, most of them wrong. So they don't feel like they have to improve again. I mean, in this case, Western. And this was actually came into the Industrial Revolution 3 or 4, which mostly about the virtual technology. And in fact, the adoption of virtual technology in the Eastern region grew pretty fast compared to the Western region. Fun fact, with this going on, lots of world big company leader came from the Eastern country. That's quite interesting to cover. There's Sundar Pichai. He is actually from India. He's a CEO of Google. There's Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. Ajay Pal Singh, CEO of MasterCard, and there is Santanu Narayan, he's actually CEO of Adobe Incorporation, and all of them are from India. And there's so many other people that came from China, South Korea, even, and also Indonesia, that kind of cover lots of economic increasing in terms of GDP and a lot more. And this is when everything came back to the Eastern. So nowadays, actually, Eastern region country was improved a lot and kind of being the gravity or the center of global economy again. So that's actually a good thing of ours. In the result of this revolutionary thing that's happening over the years, we came to this term called, let me show you guys, the new economy. And this is actually quite interesting to cover, but before we deep dive into it, I'm gonna tell you guys about the basic theory. So what is the new economy? So the new economy, basically the domination of the Eastern countries in the global economy of the world creates new economy. So it's actually the effect of the Eastern growth economic country. This happened after a long process from old economy, you know, the industrial revolution that's happening from the Western. And then after that came digitalization economy or digital revolution that also be called the dot-com revolution. Forces driving globalization, technology innovation like e-commerce, email, internet, etc. And after that globalization happened, then it creates the new economy, that what is happening now. The new economy makes everything new. So everything is brand new from zero again. but everything is improved. New market structure, new industry structure, new firm structure, even new business models. It has a pros and cons of it, but mostly pros because it is the improved version of everything in one. And in the new economy, they have more or less three important pillars, or four. The first one would be cost reduction. This happened in Industry Revolution 1 and 2, and mainly happened in interaction cost and transformation cost. So they have to make a new things to make the cost be sustained onto the next generations of economy. The second one would be better customer service. With this new economy, of course, it benefits. There's benefits of it. Everything will be digitalized and everything will be easier, like what we have nowadays. There will be more choices, of course, 24-hour services. That's of course also, and it will be just one click away, as I already say to you, because this digitalization, everything going on so easy for us to just, like Gojek or Tokopedia, it was really easy to it was just one click away. The third one will be transparency and competition. From the macroeconomic perspective, actually, there will be transparency and good competition between companies, or even between like small or big, whatever. They're gonna have a really good competition situation, because the customer can always choose and see the performance of the company, and it is an honest competition and a really fair competition, because people could see your progress, people could see your financial situation, people could help, even people could really see the raw experience of the company growing and existing. So that's actually good and honest. And the last one would be higher return and risk. More faster in interaction and transaction, the product or service will be not only localized, but also globalized. That was actually the point of global economy. Yeah, it covers lots of things and lots of part of the economy. So that's actually kind of good. Also, there's pros and cons into it, but most of it, I would say, it's a good thing. Okay, so even though there's this new economy, there's also something that we have to cover, like what I already said. There's a pros and cons about being globalized or being internationally exist. Here we can see in the title, Global Economic Turmoil, Disruption, and VUCA. There was actually caused, again, I already say to you, by the new economy. And VUCA was actually an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and amenity. That again were caused by the new economy. So it has a downside, it has a upright sides. So yeah, it creates a trade war like what's happening in Ukraine and Russia right now. And also natural disaster, because so many things exploit, so many things in short, so many things just being not managed correctly. And there's budget deficit, China slowing down, slower domestic growth, corruption cases, because everyone wants to have the gold, investment fraud, again, because everyone wants to. The competition was just so sometimes it's honest, but because it's too honest, it's sometimes not good for the economy. Trade deficits, high political costs, safety, and gypsy. So yeah, it's kind of a rough situation we have to be in, but again, pros and cons, there's always going to be that. And this condition actually caused disruptions everywhere. This condition was already actually predicted a long time ago by Joseph Alois Comte. He's actually an economist from German. He said that long run competition in these kind of day, you know, at that time in the future, will not about price and output competition, but it is more like about the community, you know, new technology, the sources of supply, new type of organization, and new business models. That actually proved the existence of this curve that I'm going to explain to you, the S curve. Yeah, so as we can see right now, back in 1996, there's 5 largest company, and most of it was um, anything related to pipe, anything related to telephone, anything related to electric, anything related to oil, gas. Literally, from the 5 company, there is owned by conglomerate, owned by the country itself, and so many more. And if you can see here in the new S-curved company, it's more like a color, right? Because actually in this type of era, the biggest piped company even back in 1996 was beaten by these S-curved company that are now dominated by technological company. The first one in the first ranked was actually Apple, you know, Macintosh. I'm actually using it right now. Their demand was so high that they couldn't bear to be the first one. The second one would be Microsoft. Microsoft has the most used software engine that was actually kind of good also. There's Google, you know, people all use Google. There's Berkshire Hathaway. There's even Facebook, Tesla, Amazon. Everyone knows Amazon. And actually this caused an S-curved yeah, graphic. Actually, so if you can see, S-curved graphic was like this. This part was actually the largest company in 1996, and this is actually the growth of S-curved company, you know, the digitalization that happening right now. So even though this largest company that brings up electric and that brings up oil, gas, or even pipe company, you know, that fulfill lots of part of this nation, or lots of part the demand of people in one nation, the digital era still are one of the thing that it has to be you know, think about. So that's why even though this comes up, you know, the 1996 economy company, this also you have to think about it, because if you don't, you're gonna stuck here, and you're gonna stuck in not even in the middle, it was just in above, and you're not growing. So you have to be in the middle, in the equilibrium area, where you have this on your control, the pipe company and stuff, you know, and you also kind of know about the digital era. So yeah, so in conclusion, again, like what I said, mostly only with one generation we can really see what kind of company dominated, and it is 10 times bigger. So they have a capital 10 times bigger than the one in 1996, and this proves how technology really impacted the economy. So you have to be careful, everyone, with economy. It's really vital. Yeah, so with this being said, because we already cover about the largest company in 1996, and just in one generation, there's so many a company that is goes along the way that have a capital 10 times bigger. It's actually kind of related to what I'm going to cover. So Indonesia's weakness in global economy was actually predicted long ago from my Professor Sembel. Professor Sembel was actually creating an article that said that Indonesia have so many weakness but also have so many strengths. These are was actually something that we have to cover in order to have a really good or really good economy. And Professor Sembel was actually predicted that we are going to be the top four. And it was just not Professor Sembel, it was actually lots of people who predicted that it's going to happen. And that's actually a good thing, you know. Indonesia will be one of the competitive, had huge competitive advantages, and that's actually good. But in order to do that, we have to cover these things: infrastructure, healthcare, labor market, and capability of innovation and skills, because we're really, really working on this hard. And yeah, it's improving a little bit with the unicorn in Indonesia that's really improving. If you see the little horsey horse here, I was just attaching that because I like unicorn. So Indonesia dominated the economy in ASEAN in 2021. It might be still right now in 2022. There are over 12 companies that are stated as unicorn company. And according to the prediction, Indonesia will lead the company. Yeah, so actually that's true. And as you can see, like Kopi Kenangan or Tokopedia that go merge with Gojek also, and there's so many much more company out there, even though mostly dominated by this digital company or technology company that already predicted long time ago, and it's happening right now. It's just crazy. So yeah, unicorn in Indonesia, it's actually a lot. 12 companies, something else. So yeah, that's about it. It's actually quite interesting to know, yeah, because we're already in this area. So I really want to go far. Oops. I really, really want you to know a little bit about international finance. It's actually a really interesting topic as well. I don't really like finance, to be honest, but it was just, you know, fun to know a bit about international finance and the history of it. So here it is. I'm really sorry, folks. I have to run around and stuff. Um, and don't worry, I'm gonna attach the file so you can see it after this very moment. Or you can just learn with me while you're seeing the mind map by yourselves. If you don't, if you prefer to, you know, do something with it. So what is international finance? International finance, sometimes known as international macroeconomics, is the study of monetary interactions between two or more countries, focusing on areas such as foreign direct investment and currency exchange rates. So, what's in international finance? There's a lot of things. First thing first, before you, because you already know the basic what is international finance, you really have to be cautious. Precautious is always good, everyone. So here it is: managerial guidelines for managing currency risk when you do international finance. The first time, I mean the first one, seek expert advice. You cannot be alone. You have to be with someone else that can provide you good advices with international finance. Second, centralized currency management within the MNE. The third one would be decide on the level of risk the firm can tolerate. So don't go high uh, as long, as far as I know, it's not a good thing. You have to be safety with it. Decide on the level of risk the firm can tolerate. That's already. Devise a system to measure exchange rate movements and currency risk. Monitor changes in key currencies. Be wary of unstable currencies or those subject to exchange controls. Monitor long-term economic and regulatory trends. Distinguish economic exposure from transaction and translation exposures. And the last one would be emphasize flexibility in international operations. So in order to go far, you have to be agile, you have to be sustained. In order to sustain, you have to be really, really agile, that you can go inside here, go inside there, go out here, go out there, you can just adopt easily your company. So that's good. This is the International Financial Management Task. There are some areas that you have to cover. First one, you have to choose a capital structure. This actually determines the ideal long-term mix of debt versus equity financing. Second one would be price funds for the firm, acquire equity, debt, or intra-corporate financing for funding activities and investment. The third one would be working capital and cash flow management. Manage funds passing in and out of the firm, value adding activities. The fourth one would be capital budgeting. Assess financial attractiveness of major investment project, for example, foreign market expansion and entry. Managing currency risk, manage the multiple currency transaction of the firm and the exposure. And the last one would be to exchange rate fluctuation, manage the diversity of international accounting and tax practices. Learn to operate in a global environment with diverse accounting practices and international tax regimes. So in international finance, you also have to know these four. The first one, absolute fast comparative advantages. The ability to produce a specific product more efficiency than any other nation. Second, competitive advantages was actually the ability to produce a specific product more efficiency than other product. So in international finance, there are also two of them: international opportunities and financing opportunities. The first one, we're going to cover about international opportunities. The marginal returns of MNC projects are above those of purely domestic firms, since MNCs have expanded opportunity sets of possible projects which is to select. The second one will be financing opportunities. MNCs can obtain capital funding at a lower cost due to their larger opportunity set of funding sources around the world. So there's a little bit story behind international finance. There's actually a bit crisis story, unfortunately, in the United States. I'm gonna cover that for you so you would know what happened back then. So it called Global Financial Crisis SPMC. Back in 2008, a major crisis emerged in the global financial and monetary system. It initially arose in the US, where investors lost confidence in the value of securitized home mortgages, or as we called SPMC, that subprime mortgage crisis. In this particular time, banks, lenders, and insurance companies became volatile and stock market crashed worldwide. Many national economies sank into recession. The world experienced sharp declines in consumer wealth, economic activity, and international trade. So what is actually the impact of this crisis? First one, economic condition. There's recession, low GDP growth rate. There's business closed everywhere, out or lose money. Like for example, bank, builders, contractor, anything, even small business. Weak financial market, low consumer spending, and so many people who don't have any job. That means they lose their job. They have to be fired in order to, decrease the cost of a company. So that's actually kind of sad. Remembering United States is a really is a nation full of immigrant. Even in that big land of people, they cannot really help the economy also, because the crisis was really bad. So a little bit more about the SPMC. The subprime meltdown was the sharp increase in high-risk mortgage that went into default beginning in 2007, contributing to the most severe recession in decades. The housing boom of the mid-200s, combined with low interest rates at that time, prompt many lenders to offer home loans to individuals with poor credit. So in this particular moment, the economic is declining, and SPMC, an ongoing economic problem manifesting itself through liquidity issues in the global banking system owing to foreclosures, which accelerate in the US in 2006. Complex interaction of the financial institution, mortgage brokers, and security dealers triggered a global financial crisis during 2007 and also 2008. In 2007, 1.3 million home loans nationwide went into default, up to 75%. Can you imagine? Prior year. And less than 800K instances in 2005. That was crazy. More than a half of the foreclosure starts are subprime mortgages in 2007. By August 2008, losses or write-downs exceeding US $400 per month and be expected reach $1 trillion Business Week 6 August 2008. So that was actually crazy just because of the greedy and all the housing thing go up, all the properties in the United States grow up because of this one person that got greedy, this one organization that got greedy. So greed is not good, guys. So you have to be careful. That's actually it about global economy and international finances. I hope you have a good day so far, and you still can have fun learning with me. Okay, so I'm going to have another subject. It's not done yet. I'm going to cover up about this particular subject because we already covered global economy, we already covered the international finance, we already also covered the crisis back then that's happening. Right now, we're gonna move on to what is international business. This is really important to cover also because that's about it today, global economy and international business. So what it is. So actually, international business is a transaction between parties from more than one countries, like buying and selling raw materials, finished goods, or even services across borders, operating factories or facilities overseas, and also borrowing money in one country to finance operation in another. And what is different than domestic business? So basically, a business that requires all its resources and sells its product or services within a single country, underline that is domestic business. So dimension of international business, it covers 5 things. The first one, globalization of markets. The second one will be international business risk. The third one would be international trade. Fourth one would be international investment. And the last one would be foreign market entry strategies. So that's about it. And we're going to cover about the international opportunities if you're going to international business industry. The first one would be investment opportunities. The marginal returns on MNC project are above those of purely domestic firms since MNCs have expanded opportunity sets of possible projects from which to select. And the second one will be financing opportunity. MNCs can obtain capital funding at a lower cost due to their larger opportunity set of funding sources around the world. And the next one would be, how does international business differ from domestic? I actually already covered that from the previous one. There's a lot of things to cover, but this is actually the short version. The first one would be currency conversion are required, of course. The second one would be different legal system between the domestic and international, because international we have to do it with other nations. That's why there's so many requirements regarding to that. The third one will be cultural differences. That's also covered up. because when we're actually transactioning with some people around the world, they have different type of business, they have different culture, they have different style of doing business. So yes, of course, cultural differences kind of differ business and domestic. The fourth one would be economic differences, and the last one would be infrastructure differences. So this is actually quite important as well. Okay, this is actually some key players in international business. There's largest company from wealthiest nation, there's firms from emerging markets, there's small and medium-sized company, there's multinational corporation or multinational company, and also born global firm. And the last one will be the four risks of international business. We already covered that a little bit from the previous one, but I'm just gonna set it a little bit toned down, a little bit easy for you to remember. There is currency financial risk, there is cross-culture. These means different culture, there's so many sensitivity will be approached, country risk, and commercial risk. So that's it for international business and also domestic business that covers it up. And I really want to know after this for you guys about multinational business and global business. So what is actually the difference between them? I'm going to cover it for you. So multinational business was actually one that has a worldwide marketplace from which it buys raw materials, pours money, and manufacture its product, and to which it subsequently sells its product. And the second one, what is global economy or global business? A business that transcends national boundaries and it is not committed to a single home country. So it was actually owned by so many countries. It's quite like nearly the same, but not really. So I'm gonna cover what is in a global industry and what it is. So global industry was actually an industry in which competition is on a regional or worldwide scale. Example of industry would be MacBook, iPhone, HP, Asus, etc., etc. For example, Kodak must contend with the same rivals. Japan Fuji and the European multinational Agfa covered. It does business around the world. It's one of the example of global industry. American Standard sells similar bathroom features worldwide, competing with Toto, most major markets. And the last one would be Caterpillar, the construction thingy, the big technician thingy. It's actually competing with Komatsu head on in all major markets and over similar brands of tractors and so many more. So we're going to move on to multi-domestic industry. So what it is, I'm going to cover that for you. Do not worry. An industry in which competition takes place on a country-by-country basis. Example of multi-domestic industry, there would be the British publisher Bloomsbury, Coca-Cola in Thailand and Peru, that they have their own standard for each nation, and cafes in Asia are often multi-story structured that sell distinctive flavor of chicken according to the nation itself. So yeah, there's actually, again, pros and cons of it, but I'm gonna cover for you the pros about globaling things, about the global business, multi-national business. So the first one I want you to know is actually what is globalization. So globalization actually a trend toward greater economic, culture, political, and technological interdependence among national institutions and economics. Globalization is characterized by denationalizations. And globalization is different from internationalization. So there's a big difference between them. There's the pros that I want you guys to know. The benefit of globalization of markets is actually global sustainability, more sustained, more markets, more sustained, reduces market cost, creates new market opportunities, high risk, high return, creates new market opportunities that's already levels uneven economic streams and also local buyers need. Okay, there's actually 4 strategy emerging from the integration responsive framework in doing global economy or multinational business or global business. First, global strategy. Headquarters seeks substantial control over all country operation in order to minimize redundancy and achieve maximum efficiency and integration worldwide. Example, Red Bull, Airbnb, Domino's, Pizza Hut. The second one will be home replication strategy. Products are designed for domestic customer, and international business is pursued mainly to extend the life of domestic products and replicating home market success. Example, Netflix, Starbucks, Microsoft. The third one would be multi-domestic strategy, localization strategy. The firm develops subsidiaries or affiliates in each of its foreign market and appoints local managers to operate independently and be locally responsive. Product and service are adapted to suit the needs and wants of buyers in each country. Local taste, Example, like 7-Eleven in Indonesia and in Brunei is different. Nestle in here and in Brunei is different. They have their own language, In Brunei, they're gonna have their own language. In Dubai, they're gonna have their language translated in the back of the thing, and like Frito-Lay and also Johnson & Johnson also have this kind of strategy. The last one will be transactional strategy, a coordinated approach to internationalization, in which the firm strive to be more responsive to local needs while retaining sufficient central control of operation to ensure efficiency and learning. Example, large fast food chains such as McDonald's, McD's, and KFC rely on the same brand names and the same core menu items around the world. These firms make some concessions to local taste too sometimes, but most of it, they were just focusing onto their branding all over the world, just the same. They already have the rule for it. Okay. So there's a little bit more to cover before we say bye-bye. The first one would be consumer surplus. It is the value of a good or service that is in excess of what a customer has to pay. Example, you are willing to pay $100 for a pair of shoes, but can buy them for $60. It's actually quite a good deal. And that is, my friend, a consumer surplus. Meanwhile, producer surplus is the revenue received by a producer that is in excess of the minimum they need to produce a given amount. You're willing to sell shoes made for $40 a pair, but you can get for $60 a pair. So it's actually a good deal. The surplus would be $20. So good deal. That is producer surplus. So we're going to move on to this tariff and quota. In theory, tariff and quota is the analysis of tariffs and quotas is called commercial policy. Tariffs and quota also have effect that spread through the economic system. So, what is a tariff and what is a quota separately? A tariff is a tax on imports, for example. It may be a set amount of $5 per ton of steel, or it may be a percentage of 10% of the import value. Meanwhile, a quota is a physical limit on import quantity. Quotas come in many forms. For example, import licensing requirements or voluntarily export restraints. The analysis is similar to a tariff, although the effects are slightly different. This is actually a form of quota. There is fair voluntarily export restraint, an agreement between an importing and exporting countries to voluntarily limit exports. Second one would be importing licensing requirements, or ILR, are requirements that any importer must obtain a license. That number of license and amounts are limited. So what is the difference between them? There's actually 3 dimensions explained here. Quotas do not generate revenue for the government. The second one, increase in foreign productivity do not result in lower price with a quota, but they do with tariff though. And the third one would be quotas can increase foreign profits. That's true. Okay. This is actually a little bit more information. These are actually the important rules of tariff and quota. Tariff and quota cause changes in the production, consumption, and import of goods on which they are levied. There are changes in another industry and on the performance of the economy as a whole as the effect work through the system. This is actually the comparison of tariff rate, the patterns. How to be exact? Generally, tariffs are lower in high income countries. Tariffs tend to be higher in lower income countries, partly because they rely on them for government revenue. So like Indonesia, maybe we are one of them. But like the US, the Canada, Australia or some big country, they don't rely on that, for financing their governmental situation. Tariffs are higher in agricultural products, apparel, manufacturing, and textile. In theory, large countries can improve their welfare by using tariffs. That's true. This assumes no retaliation. The tariff cannot be too large or too small. They have to be like in the middle of it. Resources, allocation, and income distribution. In fact, deadweight laws a destruction of consumer or producer surplus that is not matched, but again somewhere else in the system. Deadweight losses can be either consumption side or production side. And efficiency loss, a deadweight loss on the production side. Other cost of tariffs, this is actually the other three dimension. Rent seeking, firms spend time and money seeking protection rather than increasing productivity. The second one would be retaliation by other countries. Innovation, tariffs on important machinery was low. The adoption of new technique and protection reduces incentive to increase productivity, improve product. So that's about other costs of tariffs. That's actually all about tariffs and quota. We actually covers everything. Yay! So I'm gonna again put this into the description box so you can download it and you can just save it. You can just do something about it. Don't worry, you don't have to be in rush. Just take your time and learn, because I have my time and learn. If you have lots of questions, if you want to just ask something, just comment on the description, the comment box below, or you just can send me email, or you can just foreign IPMI International Business School. They have lots of courses as well, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, thank you for watching. I was in pause a little bit because I was trying to remember what I'm gonna say. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day, and bye-bye.